How My People Made Me a Dictator. Part 2. On the morning of November 9th, together with my organization of 3,000 brown shirts, I began marching toward the center of the city of Munich. We advanced without any issues until we reached the vicinity of the Bavarian Ministry of Defense in the city center. However, when we arrived there, our path was blocked by about 100 police officers. In the resulting clash, 16 of my friends and 4 police officers lost their lives. I was also injured during this conflict, but I managed to escape. Yet this escape bought me only 2 days. 2 days later, I was arrested and thrown into prison. In my speech at the trial, delivered in a calm and soft tone of voice, I emphasized that I had to perform a brave act to save the people. I had stated that I was one of the greatest speakers the world had ever seen. Thanks to the speech I made before the judges, I received a sentence of only 5 years at the trial, where I was tried for treason. After serving about 9 months of my sentence, I was released on December 20th, 1924. While I was in prison, the German Workers' Party had won 3% of the vote in the December 7th, 1924 elections, securing 14 seats in Parliament. During this period, as the devastating effects of the war began to gradually diminish, the German economy started to stabilize. These new developments hampered the rise of my Nazi Party. In the elections held on May 20th, 1928, my party's votes had dropped. I was able to secure only 12 seats in Parliament. As I said, for bloody dictators like me to emerge, the times and conditions had to become suitable. However, the following year, in 1929, with the outbreak of the economic crisis in America called the Great Depression, my party began to gain popularity once again. Because with the Treaty of Versailles, we had been forced to pay war reparations to Britain and France. We were covering this debt with a loan we took from another country. Yes, you guessed it right. We had taken loans from America. The Great Depression caused hyperinflation for us. We had to give a sack of money just to buy a loaf of bread. Unemployment and poverty in Germany suddenly skyrocketed. This environment provided a significant opportunity to increase my voter base. Taking advantage of the economic crisis, I launched a propaganda campaign. My ideas attracted the attention of both the poor public and the industrialists, who feared the rise of the socialists. Many business leaders began to financially support the Nazi Party, enabling me to reach wider masses. My National Socialist German Workers' Party achieved its first major electoral success in the September 14, 1930 elections, raising the number of its members of parliament from 12 to 107. This was an extraordinary success for my party. However, no one knew yet that this was only the beginning. My next goal was to be elected president. In the presidential election held on May 10th, 1932, I achieved a great success by receiving 36.8% of the vote. However, the election was won by my opponent Hindenburg, who received 53% of the votes. In the 2 general elections held in June and November following the presidential election, no party was able to secure a majority in parliament. In response, my Nazi Party obtained 230 seats in the June election and 196 seats in the November election, becoming the party with the most seats in parliament in both elections. Using this power, I proposed that President Hindenburg appoint me as Chancellor. Thinking that I could keep the far-right masses under control, Hindenburg accepted my proposal. On January 30th, 1933, I was declared Chancellor in a ceremony. By the way, I was actually not a German citizen until 1932. I became a German citizen in order to become Chancellor. The greatest success of Austrian diplomacy is convincing the world that I am German and that Mozart is Austrian. Shortly after my selection as Chancellor, on the evening of February 27, 1933, a fire broke out in the German parliament, the Reichstag fire. Naturally, claiming that the communists started the fire, I used this situation as an excuse to expand my powers. I won't be modest at all about this. After me, many dictators used this tactic. Look at Franco's Spain and Tayyip Erdogan's Turkey. I am proud of both of them. The next day I had President Hindenburg sign a decree that abolished the articles of the Constitution regarding individual rights and freedoms. With this decree, the publications and campaign activities of all parties, except the Nazi Party and the German National People's Party, were halted. Under these conditions, in the elections held in March 1933, the Nazi Party under my leadership obtained the highest number of seats in Parliament with 43.98% of the seats. However, 324 seats were required for a parliamentary majority. Therefore, I formed a coalition with the German National People's Party. With the Enabling Act I submitted to Parliament on March 23, 1933, I transferred all powers of the Parliament to the Cabinet for a period of 4 years and suspended the operations of Parliament during this period. For such a law to be put into effect, a majority in Parliament had to be secured. To ensure this, I had 81 communist deputies detained before the vote. On the day of the vote, Parliament was surrounded by my brown shirt organization. I banned all parties other than my Nazi party, and I closed down all trade unions, associations, and organizations not affiliated with the Nazis. Parliamentary democracy in Germany thus came to an end. Real elections could no longer be held, and members of Parliament would be determined by the National Socialist German Workers' Party. Thus, I became the absolute ruler of Germany. I reduced the powers of President Hindenburg to symbolic proportions. During this period of my increasing absolute domination, I began purges in the German army, replacing officers with those loyal to me. As you know, as a nationalist and socialist party, I had carried out very successful actions on the nationalist side. Now it was time to show my socialist side. I nationalized large corporations. I purged the wealthy elites in the brown shirt organization that had brought me to power. On the night of June 29, 1934, I gave the execution orders for the leaders of the brown shirt organization. This night was called the Night of the Long Knives. While backing myself with the support of the army on one hand, I had gotten rid of all opposition that was beginning to pose a threat to my authority on the other. 1 month after this event, on August 2, 1934, President Hindenburg passed away. I organized a referendum for the presidency, and in the referendum, where 95% of my beloved German people voted, they approved my becoming president while also continuing my duty as Chancellor with a 90% yes vote. Thus, thanks to my beloved people, I became the sole authority in the governance of Germany. During my rule, I ensured the revival of the German economy. With the rearmament movement I launched as soon as I came to power, as well as the construction of hospitals and schools, I created employment for German workers. While other countries of the world struggled to cope with the crisis, the German economy began to recover at a rapid pace. By 1939, I had resolved the country's internal affairs. This time I turned my gaze outward. Since Germany was strong once again, I had to take revenge for the Treaty of Versailles. I caused the outbreak of World War II. 25 million soldiers died in these wars. I also caused the deaths of 52 million civilians. In total, I slaughtered nearly 6 million Jews as well. After causing so much death, I obviously could not remain alive. I ended my life by committing suicide. My people brought me to power through elections, and they paid the price for this immense mistake with death, starvation, and the rape of 2 million German women by Russian soldiers. As Benjamin Franklin said, any people that would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety, and will lose both. If you enjoyed this dive into the strange and fascinating corners of history, please support the channel with a subscribe, a like, and a comment. It really helps me keep making more of these.